The first question is about parent follow through. I don't know if you guys have had this or not, but it's a big thing for me. It's a big thing for obviously a few members because they've posted about it. But one member in particular was saying, what do I do about parent follow through? They're not following through at home. They're not coming to any parent training sessions. They're saying they're too busy for parent training. And then, when things happen in terms of negative behavior with their child, they're blaming the clinicians. So I get it. It's got to be a really frustrating job. And I get it from a personal level too, because we get, some of that as well. You've got some parents who are like so invested, and then there's other parents who um, just aren't. And it's not that they're not, and I don't, there's no judgment here. And I think that's the big thing, is that we can't have any judgment against these parents for not attending parent training. First of all, I usually call it parent support or parent coaching versus training. They're the parents, they should know how to parent. But in terms of parent support or parent coaching, it's not about placing blame, like I can't believe they're not here, or placing judgment or anything else. It should really come down to looking at what are competing reinforcers for parents, what are competing variables, and really looking at that. And sometimes when you look at that, you can really understand then why they're not coming. So for instance, looking at the function of the parent's behavior, if I took it from my perspective, if I was always told, whenever I went to a meeting, how terrible my child was doing, like that's pretty aversive. Like I don't think I'd want to come back, right? I had a parent say to me one time, we were, working with her daughter and providing ABA services, and she said, I'm just so frustrated with the whole schooling situation, because every single time, she's called in because her child has some type of negative behavior, she's, always told what her kid can't do, but never told what her kid can do. So when you're thinking about that, you just, even your positive interaction, your interactions with the parent in general, try and keep them more positive. So instead of having all these interactions of like, here's what your kid can't do, here's what your kid can't do, here's what your kid can't do, can you say, hey, but here's what your kid can do? Or, hey, you know what, your child may not be able to do this, but here's how we're going to fix it. Or here's how we're going to work on it. And here's how we're going to teach that skill. Your child has, engaged in this negative behavior, but we're going to target it by doing this. So really looking at the function of the parent's behavior, as well as, looking at, how you can increase positive interactions with parents. So maybe pairing yourself a little bit more with reinforcement when you're around the parent. And then also, if the parent does start, you start building rapport with the parent, just start small. Like, think about it. If a parent has a full-time job, maybe kids are at home right now because they're, online schooling or whatever it is, you've got this, long list that you give to a parent. They can't do it because they have, other things to do as well with their life. So that can be very, very difficult. So start small, one thing at a time. We had a parent one time who wasn't following through at all, and, seemed very detached. And it wasn't that they were really detached at all. It was just they really had a crazy job. They really did. So we started taking some video. We got permission, but we started taking video of just the child's successes. And we would send home really small snippets and say, hey, look, he was able to tie his shoe today. Hey, look, he almost brushed his teeth. And we would send home videos of those small little life skills, like, hey, now that you've seen it, maybe you'll start doing it. And it actually started working. The more we sent these things home, the more they were like, oh, hey, I can do this. But again, in very, very doable chunks and not really a big ask. So that's kind of one way to target that parent follow through piece. But I get it. It's really tough.